afternoon and welcome to all for this penultimate session in a series of 6 leadership talks by the renowned Dr. Gururaj Karjagi. The title being A Life of Purpose versus the Purpose of Life. I am Srinivas Ramanujan representing Bosch at Bidadi Industries Association, and I will help you through today's session. An announcement for those who are new to these sessions: since this is a talk session and in order to efficiently manage this online meeting, we will not be having a Q&A session. However, those with specific questions can address them to us at BIA or BCIC or by email to contact@actedu.in. Mr. Praveen will put that on the chat box. We will coordinate to get the responses if required. I regret if this is an inconvenience and request you to bear with us. The admin will mute all participants for better audio. I now request Mr. A. Murali, Vice President at Toyota Susho India Private Limited, Secretary BIA, and Advisor BCIC to give the welcome address and introduction. Over to you, Murali-san.
Thanks, Mr. Ramanujam. Dear distinguished members, good afternoon to one and all. It gives me immense pleasure to extend you all a very warm and hearty welcome to this 5th session in a series of 6 leadership talks organized by BCIC and BIA. It is indeed a great pleasure to have in our midst the renowned Dr. Gururaj Karjagi, who of course needs no introduction. Welcome to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
And however, we take this opportunity to highlight his accomplishments and to give a brief introduction about him, which, however short it be, will not be able to do justice for his potential. Dr. Gururaj Karjagi is a world-renowned motivational speaker, columnist, author, researcher, academician, educationist, teacher, trainer, expert, thinker, and the most humble, down-to-earth personality. He's a doctoral degree holder in chemistry from Karnataka University and has published over 22 research papers in international journals. Through his profound determination and enduring energy, Dr. Karjagi has traversed every village of Kalyana, Karnataka, which is in the northeastern part of the state, comprising of 6 districts and known to be one of the most backward areas of the country. His talks to school children, college and university students, parents, and general public on various aspects of education, parenting, skills, human values, happy family values, Indian culture, patriotism, and being positive is well received. Through this program, he has reached out to over 1 million people so far. He has given lectures at the Gokhale Institute, founded by Dr. D.V. Gundappa and inaugurated by Mahatma Gandhi, on various aspects of philosophy, culture of India, and about those great lives that have illuminated the lives of countless other millionaires. He has edited a huge compendium of articles on almost every aspect of education, and this is brought out as a book entitled Shikshana Shilpa. His daily morning talks on All India Radio have made him a household name in Karnataka. He has dozens of awards to his credit for his distinguished service, literary accomplishments, and philanthropic outlook. He regularly speaks at various corporates and universities the world over. We feel proud and honored that he has consented to set aside his valuable time from his busy tour schedules to address our gathering through these sessions in his inimitably spellbinding way. We wholeheartedly welcome you, sir. It's so special to have you here, and we are looking forward, just like any other Wednesday, to hear from you today. And for the benefit of viewers, Dr. Karjagi is also a great sports lover, cricket lover, and he was the chairman of the University Cricket Selection Committee for quite many years. So with this, I extend a warm welcome to all the viewers of members of BCIC and BIA and other guests and staff members who we have we have the honor to host them today. The topic of today's talk, as Mr. Ramanujam said, is a life of purpose versus the purpose of life. Thank you all. I now hand over the mic to Mr. Ramanujam.
Thank you, Murali-san. Thank you so much for that beautiful welcome address and introduction. And Dr. Gururaj Karjagi, sir, we are very glad to have you here.
Yes.
So pleasurable to listen to you every Wednesday. You can have the screen now, sir. All to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. The amount of kindness you have shown to me is so immense, I can't repay it. I'm so touched by the kind gesture that you made.
It's our pleasure and these things.
And this is an opportunity that, as a teacher, I find to talk to all the people. And so nice of you that you selected different topics every week. And you know, it keeps me on my toes. I had to prepare very nicely for this, but it is a beautiful exercise for me. And I'll start with this beautiful topic that is given to me. Uh, uh, I'll make a presentation. I hope the PPT will be clearly seen.
Yes, sir, we can see it, sir. Can you please put this on
Yeah.
slideshow mode? Yeah, we can see that also. Thank
You
you.
can see that, sir? Can see the...
Yes, sir, we can.
Yeah,
We can.
fine, sir. Fine. This is a life of purpose and purpose of life. It looks like a tongue twister. It like supposing you are asked to say this 10 times in a hurry, we are likely to make mistakes. Because what happened?
Yeah, sir. Now it's visible.
Is it seen, sir? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I was telling you, a life of purpose and a purpose of life, if you are asked to speak it in a hurry, likely to make mistakes, is going to be a tongue twister. But the two parts of the sentence, a life of purpose and purpose of life, they are connected. I always say they are inextricably interwoven as the intricate patterns of an oriental carpet. They're so beautifully connected. How are they connected? We'll have a glance over that. Somebody wrote a beautiful quotation on that. The purpose of life is a life of purpose. Somebody views this way. And I thought everyone had some purpose in life. How seriously they pursued the purpose is more important. How seriously you pursue the purpose is very important for me. Those who pursued it very seriously, they became models for us. And we call that life as the life of purpose. I take only a few people whom I remember so much with reverence today. Krishna, his mission was, he made it very clear, every time there is a fall of dharma, I'll come. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyutthana dharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. Every time dharma collapses, I'll be there. That is a mission statement. I'll be there. Every time there is a failure of systems, I'll come and set it right. And he did that. Every time there was a problem, he was there to support. Hello, is it clear, sir? Ramanujan,
Yes, sir.
sir?
It is clear, sir.
Okay,
Clear,
fine.
sir.
Yeah. Krishna's mission was that. And by one act of this, you can see Bhagavad Gita or his life itself from his childhood to the final declaration of Bhagavad Gita and finally Uddhava Gita at the end. All this is one point. If you think of one point, his whole aim was to accept knowledge. This I want to make it very clear because many a times we talk about Krishna. If I had to find one element of greatness in Krishna, it is his commitment to knowledge. Commitment to knowledge. He never wavered from that. He was always chasing Arjuna. Arjuna was not a dull man, he was an intelligent man, very brave man, but he gave him the correct knowledge. There is one small episode I should tell you. The Kurukshetra war was going on, the 17 days are over. Those days, perhaps the war was fought like government offices, 9 to 5, and then evening they had to go back to a tent and take care of the hurt animals and repair the gadgets and all that. And Pandavas used to sit and talk. Krishna used to excite them, tell them some nice things and keep them happy. On the 17th day, they were all laughing and making merry. At that time, Krishna was serious, very serious. Dharmaraja asked him, Krishna, all these days you were exciting us. Today you are so serious. Why? Krishna immediately said, you are idiots. You are real idiots. You don't know the sun is setting now. You don't care for it. Arjuna had a little more flexibility with Krishna and asked him, Krishna, what is so special about it? Every day sun sets and next day morning he rises. Why are you so much worried about it? Krishna says, you don't understand the significance of what I'm saying. I'm not talking of this sun who rises every day morning. I'm talking of the sun of knowledge, Bhishma, who is an epitome of knowledge, who is the repository of all the knowledge of Pandavas and Kurus, Kauravas, had decided to leave his body. Now Uttarayana Parvakala is coming close. He's going to die now. And all the knowledge that he has will go with him. You should not allow it to happen. You should go and get that knowledge. Next day, he takes all the Pandavas, makes them sit at the feet of Bhishma and tells Bhishma, Bhishma, whatever knowledge you have, should not take it away with you. Please pass it on to Dharmaraja. It will be useful to him as a king later on. Bhishma said, what can I tell you? You are there, Krishna. You give him knowledge. Krishna tells him, whatever I knew, I told him on the first day itself in Bhagavad Gita. Now you tell. You are the repository of so much of knowledge. Krishna is so concerned about knowledge. Even in the last day of his life, when he finds his sons and grandsons die on the beach of Prabhasa, he presides over the destiny of this colossal destruction. And then finally tells Balarama, you go now. And he's shot in the feet by an archer. At that time, he sends word for Uddhava. Come, Uddhava, I am going to die now. I'm going to leave my body. Before I leave, I should tell you whatever I know. Knowledge should not be wasted. He goes on telling all that he knew to Uddhava. Uddhava Gita, you should know, is bigger than Bhagavad Gita. And tells Uddhava, now take this to Badrikashrama. And there are rishis there. Share this knowledge with them. Knowledge should never die. If I had to take one mission of Krishna, it is to ensure that knowledge is perennial. Knowledge is perpetual. This is the most important mission. And because of that, an ordinary boy, I should say, a small prince somewhere else who never became a king, became a god for us. That is a life of purpose, because he chased his purpose of life incessantly. Rama. What is speciality of Rama? Only one word. Ramo dirnabhibhashate. That means Rama has never gone back on his words. Once he says it, it's final. They used to say, Rama's words are like arrows. Once Rama leaves an arrow, it finishes the job and comes back. No problem. Similarly, when Rama says something, it is over. That kind of honesty, that kind of value for truth. He always spoke truth. Rama's mission, that became his life mission. And Buddha's mission, he only said one thing: desire is the cause for all suffering. Don't desire too much. The greater the desire, greater is the suffering. And this king, prince at that time, and became a king, Siddhartha, one night at 12 o'clock, and when his wife and beautiful wife and the young child were sleeping, he got up and went. That's what a famous statement in Kannada, Jagavella Madagir Malagiralu Buddha Nobbanedda. He went away. His only mission was, don't get attached to desire so fast. One mission of that, Buddha became God. Mahavira, one of the greatest apostles of non-violence, he had only one mission called aparigraha. And we say Mahavira became Digambara. He's not becoming just naked. He was Digambara. Digambara means for whom whole sky itself is a cloth. He said, I don't want to accumulate anything. Nothing belongs to me. By rejecting everything, by having aparigraha, Mahavira became a god. And if I had to make one mission, purpose of life of Jesus Christ, it is forgive people who harm you. Love everybody. Love everybody. The most beautiful statement, my friends. Very, very famous statement. Saint John, who lived with Jesus all through his life. He was with Jesus with every miracle of Jesus, whether on the Sea of Galilee or anywhere else. He was always with him. And even when he was crucified, he was with him. He knelt and cried, don't crucify my friend. He lived 91 years. Saint John lived 91 years. And in Jerusalem, they declared it is the last speech of John. Hundreds of people gathered there. And old John was taken up on the platform. And they were announced, today, Saint John talks about Jesus' mission. What was Jesus' whole focus of life? What was the focus of life? And John is going to speak about it. Everybody were all ears. This old man went up, put his eyes on the eyebrow, looked at the people. They gave him some kind of a microphone, like the kind of hood, so that people can hear. There was 1 hour introduction of John. They said, John is such a great man. He will tell you a series of incidents that happened along with Jesus Christ. Everybody was excited. John went up to the edge of the platform, looked at each one of them. If I had to tell you, Jesus' mission of life was, He paused and said, please love everybody around you. Please love everybody around you. He finished his talk, went back and sat. People were shocked. When I read the last speech, I was also worried. Jesus mentioned he could have spoken for hours together because he lived with him in every minute. He only said, love everybody around you. Then I thought, okay, that was the only message required for the people of first century. First century people required only this message, love everybody around you, don't hate anybody. Now, my friends, I feel this is the only message we require for even the 21st century. Love everybody around you, because we have destroyed the world into caste, community, gender, boundaries, religious, linguistic. We have destroyed the world. Love everybody around you. That was the Jesus mission. By loving everybody and forgiving people, Jesus became God. Adi Shankara. He was the only effort was establishing the Vedic tradition. It was destroyed earlier, completely corroded system. He brought it back. Only one mission, establish the Vedic tradition. Swami Vivekananda, his only mission was stimulating young people to serve the cause of India. How to stimulate them? Uttishtata, Jagrata, Prapyavarani Bodhata. Upanishad statement he took and said that is the only way to do. He stimulated young people for the cause of India. One mission. And Mother Teresa's mission, unaddressed love. Unaddressed love. Love is always addressed. I love my wife because she is my wife. I love my children because they are my children. Is addressed love. Unaddressed, irrespective of who they are connected with me, not connected with me, love them unconditionally. And that compassion. Mother Teresa became an angel now because she is given the sainthood. Therefore, after reading all these people, I came to a conclusion that if you pursue the purpose of your life incessantly, take one purpose. For those of you who can understand Kannada, because I can't translate in English. D.V. Gundappa wrote one, Ghana Tattva Vandakke Dinaratri Manasotu, ನೆನೆಯದು ಇನ್ನೊಂದನು ಎಲ್ಲವನು ನೀಡುತ್ತ ಅದರ ಅನುಸಂಧಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಜೀವ ಭಾರವನ್ನು ಮರೆಯುವುದು ಹನುಮಂತರ ಉಪದೇಶ ಮಂಕುತಿಮ್ಮ. I'll not translate it easily for English, in English for people. ಘನ ತತ್ವ ಒಂದಕ್ಕೆ ದಿನರಾತ್ರಿ ಮನಸೋತು. Keep one highest goal, not small goal. Keep one highest goal. Call that as the purpose of your life. And incessantly chase it. Only incessantly chase it. And I tell you, finally you find salvation in the same purpose. That's what I said. When you pursue the purpose of life continuously, it becomes a life of purpose. Now we say Krishna had a life of purpose, Rama has a life of purpose, Buddha has a life of purpose, and all of them have life of purpose. This is very important. I have to define what is the purpose of life then. I said we should follow the purpose of our life. What is the purpose of life? There was a Jewish saint called as Rabbi Bonham. All Jewish saints are called rabbis. Rabbi or Rabbi, they call some pronunciation is different. His name was Bonham. He's a pretty old saint. He had large following, thousands of followers he had. And once the followers went up, can somebody mute the voice? I'm getting so much of voices there. Yeah, please. Rabbi Bonham was old and the disciples went up to him and said, sir, can you give us a parting message? Because we knew that they knew that you will not live long now. He said, no, I will not give any message now. I'll give my message soon after my death. People are shocked. How can you give message after the death? He said, no, I'll not give any message now. I'll give message after death. A few days later, Bonham was gone. Bonham was dead. All disciples came to his house. His body was lying in state there. And they saw there was peace on his face, smile on his lips. He had kept his two hands fists closed and kept on his chest. They looked around whether Rabbi had given us any messages for them. Nothing was available. But they knew that some master would not miss it because he had promised them that he'll give the message after the death. One fellow went and opened the left fist, closed fist of Bonham, opened the fist, and there was a small little paper on which it was written very clearly, I am nothing but earth. I am nothing but earth. They said, we know that our Guru had told all this earlier. We came from earth and go back to earth. We're nothing more than earth. It's okay. Nothing great message. Somebody opened the right fist. There is another piece of paper on which it was written, the whole earth is made for my sake. They said, my God, is a contradiction. On one side he says, I'm nothing but earth. On other side he says, whole earth is made for my sake. They could not understand the apparent contradiction. And third fellow took both the strips of paper, joined them together and turned back. And there was the message very clearly written. The one in my left is a reality and the one in my right is a potentiality. And life is a process of converting all potentials into realities. Lovely message. The one in my left is the reality. Yes, I'm nothing but earth, came from earth and go back to earth is a reality. But one my right is a potentiality, that the whole earth is made for my sake. That's what something I tell you, magnificent. Both are there. One is the reality, the potentiality, and our life is nothing but realizing all the potentials into realities. Yes, I may be small, I may be hopelessly small. In the spectrum of life, I'm very small. But given the power of logic and reason, I can comprehend the whole universe. This is a statement of Swami Vivekananda. Only Vivekananda can write such beautiful sentences. I repeat the sentence for you. Sentence is marvelous. He says, I am, please listen to me, it's one of the most beautiful statements. I am but a speck of the microscopic dust in the vast immensity of space. But given the power of reason and logic, I can comprehend the whole universe. What a lovely way of saying. I am nothing but a speck of the microscopic dust, not even a dust, microscopic dust. I'm so small. But if I am the power of logic and reason, I can comprehend the whole universe. Don't you think there's a puny character called human being sitting here can predict the climate on planet Mars? Extraterrestrial objects? When the earth started, how the Big Bang happened, when will the earth end? A small human being with the power of logic and he can comprehend. So Rabbi Bonham's statement is very true. That is the purpose of life. We are all bundle of potentials, huge bundle of potentials. If you can realize all the potentials and when you are living here, I think that is the purpose of life. But the problem is, most of us do not make sincere effort to find out the purpose of our life. We don't even find out. I don't know whether I mentioned this example. If I mentioned, it's a good repetition. If not mentioned, it's a beautiful example. A friend of mine was an income tax commissioner. 2 years before he retired, his wife died. And he has two sons. And he's exported both of them. One was in England, the other was in US. They have a very good life. They have very high positions in life. The children thought father is alone here. We should take him for some change. They took the father to Hawaii Islands and then booked a 7-star resort. Money is not a problem for them. They booked a resort and booked 3 rooms, one for the elder son and his wife, another one for his younger son and the wife, and the middle room is for the father. They said, Papa, we'll stay here for a week and enjoy. Father, being income tax commissioner, said, why are you spending so much money? They said, no problem, Papa. And next day, the elder son came and told, Papa, I have taken 3 minutes permission, 3 minutes token for Blue Cube. He said, what is that Blue Cube? I'll not tell you. Son said, it's a beautiful experience. People from all over the world come there to experience it. I've taken 3 minutes token. How much does it cost? The son said, don't worry, Papa. It costs about 5,000 rupees, Indian equivalent. He said, my God, for 3 minutes, 5,000 rupees. But token was already taken. What should I do? They told the father, you go to the room, the Blue Cube room, close the door behind you, and there's a hole there, drop the token. After dropping the token, there's a black glass kept there, black glasses, wear the black glasses and stand quietly. You will have a lifetime experience. Unwillingly, the income tax commissioner went, closed the door behind him, pushed the token in the slot, tuck, 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 it made some sound. Then there was a dark glass, he wore it and stood there. He had to wait for 3 minutes, nothing happened. 3 minutes he stood there, and after 3 minutes there was a bell, the time is up. He kept the glasses there and came out with a long face. Sons asked, how was it? He said, what, how was it? You wasted 5,000 rupees. Nothing happened. The boys are surprised. All over the world, people praise it, and my father is not feeling anything. That day evening, the younger fellow came. Papa, I don't know why you did not experience anything in the blue cube. I have taken token for 6 minutes tomorrow. He said, my God, no. Again, you should 10,000 rupees. No, Papa, you should have the experience. And again went willingly. The next day, the father went, closed the room, pushed the token. Again, it made some sound. He wore the glasses and stood there. And now you know, my friend, standing doing nothing for 6 minutes is infinitely long time. He waited there. After 6 minutes, he came with a longer face and told, both of you are idiots. You have no better way of wasting money. And I simply stood there, nothing was happening. They discussed, how can it happen? Next day, both of them came together and said, Papa, is the last chance. We have taken token for 10 minutes today. And the last chance. Whatever happens, happens. Again, he went there unwillingly, pushed the door, put the token there, and wore the glass for 2 minutes. Then he thought, it's impossible to stand there for 8 minutes, 10 minutes. Let me see what is there. He removed the glass. He saw there was a full big glass mirror there in front of him. There were a few hangers and some clothes were there. To the right, he saw another door. He said, anyway, I had to spend 8 minutes. Let me see what is there. He pushed the door handle and opened the door, and his heart stopped. There was the blue cube. The room inside was painted with the fluorescent blue color, facing the sea. And they have done it so beautifully, all the light dancing on the waves are focused back into the room. It's such a bright light and cool breeze. He ran back and wore the dark glasses and stood there, closed the door behind him in the blue cube. Oh my God. He felt he was drenched in that blue color and the cold breeze, and he felt he was becoming younger by the minute. He was younger by the minute. After 8 minutes, the bell rang. The old man felt bad. I should have had some more time. He came out smilingly and told his son, it's a beautiful experience, lifetime experience. The children asked, what happened yesterday and day before? He said, I did not know that there is a blue cube inside. I was waiting in the dressing room all these 2 days. I did not go into the blue cube at all. When they narrated the incident, the father laughed, sons laughed, I also laughed. After 8 days, my friends, honestly, to me, it became a very philosophical exercise. Very philosophical exercise. We come to earth, God sends us to earth and say, do something, achieve something and come back. But most of us do not go to our blue cubes at all. Blue cube is an area where our purpose is there. We don't go there at all. Most of us spend our time in the dressing room and come back with a long face. That's a tragedy. We don't discover, we don't make sincere effort. What is I'm good at? What is the purpose of my life? We don't do that. That's what a blue cube experiment my friend has told me is amazing to me, that most of us do not make efforts to search for the blue cube. Somehow we live, somehow we go away from here. That's what shocks me. To find the purpose of life, do I make an effort to understand my life properly? Do I know my life properly? Simple, my friends, you know, if I have to understand somebody, if I have to know somebody, I have to spend some time with them. I can't tell any stranger I know you very well. If I meet him frequently, exchange ideas with him for about a year or so, then I can say, yes, I know him. I keep meeting him. That means to know a person, you should spend some time together. Similarly, do I spend sufficient time with myself? This is a very important question, my friends. It may look very trivial. Have I spent sufficient time with myself? I take appointment with so many people. Sir, can I come and meet you tomorrow? Can I have 5 minutes time? I take appointment with everybody, but I don't take appointment with myself. I don't meet myself regularly. Has there been a serious introspection? What is this Guru Raj Karjagi? What does he want to do? You ask my friends many a times when people are due to retire, I ask them, what is that you want to do now after retirement? They say, now I will do what I wanted to do. So far, I did what others wanted me to do. That means you need 60 years to know that I want to do something for myself. Where was this my earlier? Had completely disappeared. We are always doing what others wanted me to do. Now I should take an appointment with myself regularly on a day-to-day basis and see what does this fellow want? Tomorrow I may not be here, tomorrow I may die. But before dying, I should do something that I wanted to do. This is the purpose of life. I had to discover the purpose of life. There is a huge difference between life and ambience of life. This is where we are terribly confused many times. We mistake ambience of life for life itself. We recognize people because of the money they have. Oh, very rich man. Oh, he had 2 Porsche cars. Oh, all kinds of facilities he has got. Oh, bungalow in Sadashivanagar, 3 bungalows. Status, image, popularity. All this we recognize and say, oh, it's a quality life, top class life. I don't know. I don't know. These are not life. These are the ambience of life. These are the facilities of life. If that were to be true, if popularity were to be true, why would a cinema actor commit suicide? If richness is the consideration, why rich people are not happy? Not all rich people are happy. In fact, I was witness to Oberoi's interview in Delhi. Oberoi, who died, chairman of the Oberoi Hotels. And girl asked him in the interview, what was your happiest moment of my life? You have so many hotels now, you are a multi-billionaire. When were you most happy? You know what he told? I'm not happy now. I go everywhere. People respect me as chairman of the company. All plastic smiles I get. The best time I was I was working as a servant in a hotel in Shimla. My wife and myself and my sons used to stay together in the small shed, not even a house, in the biting cold. We are the happiest people at that time. Therefore, richness has nothing to do with happiness in life. Status, very high status, very high position people. Why are they not comfortable? The image is beautiful. So therefore, all these are ambience of life, not life itself. Life is not an ambience. Ambience is only a cover, a mask, which could be quite misleading. Quite misleading. I've seen the cinema stars, so many of them committed suicide earlier. Why? They have a nice facade, beautiful face, masks around them, but that is not life itself. Purpose of life, as we know, my friends, keeps changing at different stages of our life. When I was very small, somebody asked me what you want to be. That was the dream of children of my generation at that time. What do you want to be? I said, I want to be a driver of a bus. Because I could see driver controls the whole bus. I was so proud of him. Standing next to driver was a great honor. That was the purpose of my life at that time. I started going to school, good grades. Yeah, I should get rank. That was the purpose. Then I got a good job. Then worldly comforts, you should have good house, good car and all that. And a beautiful wife or a handsome husband, whatever required. Then we wanted children who are intelligent and successful also. Slowly and slowly your children become your visiting cards. I'm the father of so and so. I get awards, recognitions, acknowledgement from so many people, national awards and all kinds of things happen. Please remember, these are different stages of a life and the purpose goes on changing every time. And some people think that, oh, all that I had, but I want peace now. I want peace. There's something beautiful, my friends, I should share with you. Ramana Maharshi of Tiruvannamalai, greatest saint that we could see in our generation or that generation. One foreign delegate came there and said, Swami, I want peace. Swami acted as if he did not hear him. Repeat once again. He said, I want peace. Say slowly, slowly, loudly also, but slowly. He said, I want peace. Okay. Swami said, drop the first word. Drop the first word. I dropped. What is the meaning? Want peace. Want peace. Now drop the second word. What is the meaning now? Peace. That means if you drop I and wants, you get peace. That was Ramana Maharshi's way of saying, I is an ego, want is a desire. If you drop ego and desire, you get peace. So therefore, at different stages of life, we go to different purposes. Many a times, purpose and success are taken as alternatives or synonyms. It is not true. I say, I want to do this. I want to achieve this goal. I have to do this. I want to show to the whole world that I am capable of doing this. I want to impact the world. Have you not seen people doing that? What is their ambition? I want to get a gold medal in Olympics. Good, very nice. I want to get a Nobel Prize. Fine. My book should be read by a million people all over the world. Yes. Are they purposes of life or are they successes? Some people say, are they not purposes also? Doing all the work and finally going to the top and getting the award, is it not a purpose of life? Please remember, all these are successes, camouflaged as purposes. All successes look like purposes. Supposing I wanted to do something, Kohli wanted to get 100 in the match, does not get it. He said, check, I did not succeed in getting 100. He feels happy or sad if he doesn't get 100. He feels sad. Check, I failed in the effort. That means you are chasing success. Please remember, purpose never fails. Success fails. Purpose never fails. I want to do something good to society. Doesn't fail. But I want to get recognized as a Padma Shri Award winner or a Padma Bhushana. I don't get it, I feel sad. Check. Announce my name is not there in the list. So therefore, success and purpose are different. Success has qualifications. If you get it, you are happy. If you don't get it, you are unhappy. But purpose is not so. There is no award, there is no reward. You are happy with yourself. That's most important. So therefore, success and purpose are two different things. Success can give you happiness. If you don't get success, it can make you feel sad. I give this example. I'm very fond of giving this example. Imagine a full bloomed flower in the garden. There's one beautiful rose flower in the garden, huge flower, beautiful flower. Now try to think, what is the purpose of this flower? What is the purpose of this flower? Please watch my words. I put the words very carefully. Is it trying to make the whole world fragrant? Supposing the rose says, I have bloomed now, my job is to make the whole world fragrant, whole world. Is it possible? Is it possible? There is so much of foul smell all over. Can it remove all the foul smell in the universe? It can't. If it can't remove the foul smell of the whole universe, then is the flower a failure or success? Imagine flower is able to think like us. If the flower were to feel so, then the flower should feel sad and feel inadequate. Check, I could not do that. My purpose was to see that the whole world becomes fragrant. It did not happen. Therefore, I failed in my mission. You should feel sad and feel inadequate. Many people, don't you think we feel so? I tried my best to do that. Check, I did not do it. I feel so bad about it. I did not do it. I tried to do many things, but nobody supported me at that time. Nobody supported me at that time. We start blaming people. If I was supported at that time, I could have done it. Therefore, I could not do. We go on giving reasons for doing this. I always feel, I don't think the flower worries so much about it. The flower don't even feel that it's fragrant. It's not keen on giving the fragrance to anybody, and of course has no ambition of making the whole world fragrant. It is just there as it should be. Nothing more, nothing less. By being there, there is no question of success or failure. Please, my friends, I hope I'm trying to make it clear. If you want the flower to spread the fragrance to all corners of the world, then you say, no, flower is not able to do, therefore flower failed. Like, for example, you want to send a message across to the country. Some wonderful message you want to give to the country. If it does not reach all the citizens of the country, they say, check, our communication was faulty. It did not reach. But in case of flower, there is no desire at all. It is there because it has to be there. It is there. It is enjoying being there. There is no success or no failure in that account. This is very, very crucial, my friends. Difference between success and failure. This is, some people argue purpose is given by God. Nothing wrong in believing that, but it may not be true also. No purpose is given by God. I believe that. God only creates you. Creates your mind, body and soul. And has given us the brain. In fact, I remember I had taken my students to Masti Venkatesh Iyengar once. A lovely discussion happened. One of my students who is a famous critic today, she asked a question, sir, if something goes wrong, we say he's a bad man. Huh? You feel that everything is done by God only. Tena vina tranamapi na chalati. Without God's permission, even a straw will not move, shake. But then, why do you blame a person for doing bad thing? It is only God who gave the idea, no, to do bad things. When somebody does good, you say he's guided by God. When does something wrong, Duryodhana is a bad man. Why do you call him bad? It is only God's mind only, no? Without God's permission, nothing happens. So even the negative thoughts are given by God only. And Masti told beautifully at that time. Very nice, I remember, and very relevant today. He says God does not give you any purpose. For example, a small child starts walking at the age of 1 year. You hold the hand and slowly start making the child walk. How long do you hold the hand? Maybe 2 months, 3 months. After the child will refuse to hold your hand. I'll walk on my own. When the child is 10-year-old, do you hold the hand? No. 15-year-old? No. 25, you can't go near him. Why? Because he knows how to walk, how to run. Therefore, God gives you tools. You have to use it judiciously yourself. God has given something to human beings, especially, that is mind and thinking capacity of brain. Both are given to you. Then use yourself and do it. So therefore, some people say God has given us purpose of life. It's okay. God does not give you, but He has given you brain and discretion power to know what is the difference between good and bad. You follow it. Therefore, I'm convinced now, purpose I have to discover myself. I have to discover the purpose of my life myself. Nobody else can do that. That's why on the right side I put a Mark Twain's quotation. Mark Twain was the greatest humorist of England. He says, the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. This is most important. One is the day you are born is the important day, because if that day had not happened, I would not be here. And second is the day you find out why I came. What is the purpose of my life? This is very, very important, my friends. I had to find the purpose of my life. Each of us have a different purpose of life. I can find my purpose of life in business. I can find in adventure. I can find in sports. I can find in education, research, social work, spirituality, serving. I've seen people doing all that. And also, if I can put tongue in cheek and say, there are people who find purpose in cheating, full-time cheating. They are specialized in that. Have you not seen people who did absolutely top-class business and became successful in life? I would always give the example of the Tatas. Amazing persons, top-class businessmen. In fact, I had a chance of meeting Ratan Tata in Jamshedpur. I was doing the training for his principals of his schools. All principals of 39 or 40 school principals were there. I did 2-day session for them. And if you remain with the people for 2 days, a lot of emotions come up. And on the last day, when I was saying goodbye to them, they all started crying. They came and touched my feet and said, sir, when are you coming next and all that. The HR vice president was there to be with me. And of the day he went, took me to the Tata guest house there, and that day Ratan Tata came there to unveil his grandfather's statue there. I had no idea that I will meet him. This man, HR vice president, I'll find out, sir, whether he can meet you for 5 minutes. I was sitting in the lawns, and Tata himself came down. A tall, nicely well-built man with a deep blue pant and light blue shirt came there and pulled a chair and sat next to me and then told me, thank you, Professor, for motivating my principals. And my HR vice president says it was excellent. But one question I have, they were very emotional at the end of 2 days. It's a professional training. Why were they emotional? I told him, sir, for a teacher and for majority of us, emotions and jobs are not much separated. If your emotions are involved, tears come into the eyes. I was talking to him for 5 minutes. The way he talked to me about his business in 5 minutes, I tell you, that man loves what he does, absolutely loves what he does. Some people found purpose in business. Some people in adventure, Arunima Sinha, after the leg got amputated, the girl who wanted to be a volleyball player, now she is not destined to play volleyball. She decided to climb Mount Everest. Can you believe? With that kind of adversity, the girl climbed Mount Everest. In fact, I heard her twice, and she explained to me with tears in her eyes how she enjoyed the suffering. I use the word very carefully, enjoyed the suffering. If it is only okay, I want to do it, becomes suffering. If it is a passion, even suffering becomes enjoyable. Sports, education, everywhere. Serving. I had the chance of being with Mother Teresa for 2 days, 3 days in 1971. I had only heard this word social service. To be honest, I did not understand the meaning of that. When I saw Mother Teresa feeding food to the leprosy patients, series of them. Her building was called as the Missionaries of Charity building was called as Nirmal Hruday. Nirmal Hruday. The patients were there, leprosy patients, lifted from the roadside. Somebody had no jaw, no nose, pus bleeding all over. I could see this mother feeding the food in the mouth and wiping the saliva without even a flinch. And she said, "These are my gods, these are my gods." First time I had face-to-face experience with somebody who loves intensely the job of serving people. That is the purpose of life. You can rediscover yourself in any way. Just being satisfied is not the purpose. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I'm happy with what I'm doing is not the purpose. Even animals become satisfied after getting their desires fulfilled. In fact, we say there are 3, 4 basic necessities of animals and human beings are common. They're all common. We all are satisfied. Once you're satisfied, animals also are happy. I give a small example how it happens. When I was coming back from US for the first time, my professor, a lady called Mary L. Good, she decided to give a small get-together party to me. And she called home for a dinner, and only 6 of us were there. She arranged food, and just as we were about to start the dinner, she shouted, "Don't start. I have a question to ask. Answer and then start." I said, "My God, the professor does not stop asking questions even at the dining table." We listened. She said, asked a question, "Would you like to eat like gentlemen or animals? Would you like to eat like gentlemen or animals?" We thought it was an offending question. He's sitting for dinner and she asking question, "Would you like to eat like a gentleman or animals?" She's a lady and a professor. He said, "No, ma'am, we'll eat like gentlemen only, eat like gentlemen." She laughed loudly and said, "Friends, remember, animals and children never eat more than required, but gentlemen do. Gentlemen do." That is something spectacular I learned on that day. Yeah, that's true. You keep a big bundle of grass before an animal, it will not even eat one straw more than required. Small children, you feed them, they remove the last half spoon also, they don't eat more than required. But gentlemen can do that. Oh, food is good. Okay, I can take a little more. Can do that. The question now is purpose. Being satisfied is not the purpose. It's not the purpose. There is a difference between animals and human beings. Center point of animals is survival. Animals are happy to survive. Man is not only struggling for survival, he's struggling for satisfaction of the ego. I wanted to do it, I could do it. It should satisfy your ego, then it becomes a human nature. Animal nature is only survival. And this is more important to me. I have a small exercise. You can try it. If it is difficult now, you can do it later on also. Please close your eyes. Please close your eyes. Please think what you want to be. Now you are not, all of you are not youngsters. You have done so much work by now. You have established yourself. You have a great reputation, a great standing in society. This is all given. It's all given now. What is the purpose of life now? I put in capital. Now, what is the purpose of life now? If you may be 50, 60, 70, whatever the age you are in, what is the purpose now? Because what as a child you had a different purpose, it went on. But now what is the purpose of your life now? If you want to change one thing in life now, if you want to change one thing in life now, What could that be? What could that be? Some gave me an answer the previous session when I was doing somewhere else on similar topic. I asked them, what is the purpose of your life? What do you want to be? They said, we want to make people happy and also become happy. I'm sure you have opened the eyes by now. We want to make people happy and also become happy. That's nice also. Let people be happy and I can also be happy. But see, what is the precedence? We want to make people happy and I make people happy. Seeing them happy, I become happy. That some people say. Some others say, no, no, no. We want to be happy and make others also happy. Please remember, these two statements are not the same statements. In the first one, I want to make the people happy and seeing their happiness, I become happy. The second one is, I want to be happy first, then make others also happy. I believe the second is more true. Can you make people happy when you are not happy? It's not possible. It's just not possible. When you are happy only, you can make others also happy. Otherwise, you can't make people happy. Imagine you go with a perfume sprayed on your shirt, body spray, and you go around. What happens? When you go into a crowd of people with lovely, beautiful, very fine, fragrant perfume sprayed on your body, when you go, what happens? People around you also get the fragrance. They say, ah, nice fragrance, very nice fragrance. That means they get it. Same is the result when you carry a foul smelling thing. Supposing you have dipped your hand in kerosene and go, or you have cut onions and go there, your handkerchief starts smelling like onion. So therefore, please remember, you have sprayed perfume, you sprayed perfume, fragrance. If you're carrying something foul smelling, you spread foul smell. Therefore, it is not what you want to be. It is what you are is more important. What you are is more important. Therefore, if you are happy naturally, without your knowledge, you spread happiness. Have you not seen some people? They're always cheerful, very nice. When you see them, you feel happy. There are some people, the moment you look at them, look like question mark. The moment you look at them, people say, oh my God, he is coming, let's go away from here. That's what I say. If you are happy naturally, you spread happiness. If you carry tension, you would spread the same tension everywhere. Is it possible to be happy all the time? It's not possible. There are challenges, there are expectations, and there is an ego. I always have this problem. I give the same problem to 5 different people. A difficult problem to 5 people. Life situation, give to 5 people. Do they react the same way? No. All 5 had different reactions. Some people may say, oh, I had this problem earlier, I know how to solve it. Some people say, my God, I can never surmount it. Hence, it is not the problem that makes you unhappy. It is the reaction to the problem that causes unhappiness. I'll give an example to make it more clear. Imagine I'm going with my wife for a walk in the morning. Somebody comes in the opposite direction and says, you are an idiot. You are an idiot, and goes away. Are you happy? He goes away. I start boiling. Idiot. He is caused me right. He is an idiot. Don't you think we boil? The whole day is gone. You say, early morning I met that fellow. My whole life is gone. Whole day is gone. How long did he shout at you? 5 seconds. Just to say you are an idiot, it takes only 5 seconds. But the remaining 23 hours, 59 minutes and all those seconds, I made myself miserable because the way I reacted to it. Some people say, you are foolish fellow, forget it and go away. Problem is, remember, it's not the problem that makes you unhappy. It's the reaction that you have for the problem that makes you unhappy. Therefore, change and modify the reaction, you'll be happy. The only way to be happy is, in fact, I learned it from a Zen master. I don't have much time to explain. I would have done otherwise. He told me a beautiful technique of how to be hero when you are hurt. And I can never forget it. So far in my administrative life, for more than 35, 40 years now, my colleagues tell me that I didn't lose my temper. I don't remember to have lost my temper. Not that I'm not getting angry. When I get angry, I remember the Zen master who taught me. Look. There are only 2 things you should remember. When something happens, when you get hurt is only an incident, forget it. How you react to the incident is more important. If you react too much, you are miserable. If you don't react too much, you don't be miserable. He taught me a new method of how to manage that, how to become happy. It's a very nice way of teaching. Next time when I have a session, I'll do that. Hence, to me, I come to the last part of it. The purpose of life is to find happiness naturally, as most important to me. Getting happiness by eating ice cream, happiness by watching a movie, happiness for going for a trip. These are instruments that make you happy temporarily. But the purpose of life is to find happiness naturally. Whatever the context, I have written on my board here, I am determined to be cheerful and happy in whatever situation I may be. For I learned from my experience, the greater part of my happiness or misery depends on my disposition and not upon the circumstances. I have the way I look at it. Remember, my friends, this is more important. Not showing happiness, but being happy. Some people show happiness. Oh, we are so happy, our family is so beautiful. Bro, don't tell me that. Every problem, every family has a small problem. You are showing happiness, but are you happy naturally? I can give some examples of people. You meet Dalai Lama, or a person I can say around me, a Swamiji of Siddheshwar Swamiji of Bijapur, Jnana Yogashram. So happy all the time. You sit before him, you dissolve yourself. So simple. These are the people who have got natural happiness. There are 4 stages to it. I mentioned the 4 stages. Initially, we are all unconsciously incompetent. I do not even know that I do not know. Then slowly as my life progresses, I become consciously incompetent. I know that I don't know these things. I don't know these things. And third stage, I become consciously competent. I know. I'm conscious of that. And final stage is I become unconsciously competent. You become competent without your conscience. I give the example of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. He never read scriptures. He never read Vedas, Upanishads or anything else. But whatever he spoke became Upanishad. Life became Upanishad. Life became Veda. Unconsciously competent. Whatever he says become Upanishad statement. This is the ultimate stage. We are going stage by stage. When one reaches the 4th stage, she or he becomes naturally happy and reaches the purpose of life. If you become happy naturally, without expecting, without desires, you're happy, fine. That is the purpose of life, and that becomes a life of purpose. When you reach the purpose of life, and people remember that life as a life of purpose. I thank at this time exactly is 4 o'clock. Thank you so much.
Once again,
Thank you, sir.
wonderful, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So it is a blessing to listen to how to create purpose in life from a great man who has created purpose in life for everybody.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
As always, an engrossing session. 1 hour, we didn't know how it went. And we are always eager to come back to the next Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And
Thank
I
you.
request Mr. Prakash KJ, CEO BIA, to say a few words with a formal vote of thanks.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaste, sir.
It's a matter of great pride and honor for me to deliver this vote of thanks to the greatly admired and respected Dr. Gururaj Karjagi, sir. Indeed, it was my dream to at least see you in person and address you. And I got several chances of meeting you. Thank you so much, sir. And then thank you, sir, for this very meaningful and impactful session, as always, wherein you have made us understand the nuances of the life of purpose versus the purpose of life, and whole thing centered around how to achieve this natural happiness. That is really, it has provoked a thought process in our minds, not to say further, to how to achieve this natural happiness. The title itself is so revealing and makes a lot of sense. The core message that you have conveyed are significant. As I said, it is food for thought, and the charge will remain in our minds for many days and motivate us, especially me personally. Thank you so much, sir. And then we are grateful for your presence here today and would be looking forward to the next and concluding session next Wednesday, 12th of January 2022. Same time on the thought-provoking topic of leading during times of change, which is very much essential during the current COVID times.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks to all the participants too. Special thanks to Academy for Creative Teaching, BIA SPG team, BIA and BCIC team for behind the screens coordination and support. Namaste, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you again next Wednesday, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Participants, the feedback form is sent. I would request the participants to kindly fill it up and send it to us.
Yes, please. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.